Hello, my glorious, incredible. Let me clean off my screen because you are worth looking super sharp, my beautiful, incredible community. Welcome back to Momplex. I'm so happy to be talking to you today. Greetings from the hotel. I am still on the road with my daughter. We've been on the road for the last week and a half for her horse show. It's the end of this season. Horseback riding, unlike other sports, it kind of seems to go most of the year. And this is the holiday season. It's kind of the wrap up of the 2024 season. And then you take a little bit of break in January, like toward the end of January, things kind of kick off again. And I'm so proud of her because we have absolutely carved out some time for her to come and continue to grow on all this hard work that she's put into it this fall. And it's, she's really having to manage her schedule around, she's a senior, so she's working on college applications. She's working on her finals. She's deciding if she wants to take the ACT again. And she's competing with some of the top riders in the world. I mean, she rode in a show today. There were 70 riders in the show, and they were from all over the world because everybody's here for, if you don't have to understand riding, but I can just tell you that there's kind of some Super Bowl competitions happening at the show we're at. And so the mix of competition and skill level is unbelievable. And she is holding her own. And I'm telling you, it is unbelievable when you think about she's going into this ring all by herself and she's competing against, it's probably the most inequitable sport on the planet, but she's competing against the Carl Cooks of the world, so to speak. And she is out there just never giving up. And it is so inspiring and so admirable. And I look at her, she's 17 years old, and I didn't have that drive. No knock on me. I loved my teen years, but there's just, I'm in awe with this motivation and this ambition and this drive and this fire in her to never give up. And we've definitely had a roller coaster of a year with one, she's a 17-year-old. So we're working with that. And, applying to colleges and, going back and forth and having some physical and mental and emotional and, all sorts of struggles. And I swear to you, so many people would have thrown in the towel. And this girl, she doesn't throw in the towel. She's like, okay, that was fucking hard. And what am I going to learn from this? And I'm going to let myself I'm going to have an emotional response to this hard thing I'm going through. But this hard thing is not going to knock me off. It is not going to knock me off. Real quick, before I dive in, you get a beautiful oxymoron with me. I am a Southern belle whose mom powered in those Southern manners, but I have a trucker's mouth. So I'm always going to drop a couple of F-bombs. So just disclaimer for you, if you're listening to this with little ears around, I do drop a couple of curse words, but I've just been watching my daughter compete and I'm seeing her pull out this grit, like digging out from it, from the bottoms of her feet, from the bottom of that barrel. And even when, the result didn't go out as she wanted, or the round didn't go as she wanted, or the test score, or the college application, or something, it's been getting a lot of bad news. Not bad news, but, her top school she was deferred from. It's not a no, but it wasn't a yes. This one round she did this week, she wanted to win the thing and she got a rail. And while you can look at the deferral and the rail is like, well, life sucks. Life is out to get you. Nothing is going to work out. Or you can say, okay, that's information. What am I going to do with that now? Where do I go from here? And I'm so inspired by her because she's always looking for okay, that sucked. And I'm allowed to think that sucks. I'm allowed to think that college response, that test score, that performance sucked. But where do I go from here? She's like, because giving up ain't no option. And that actually is a perfect segue into what I want to talk to you about today. And it is this question: when will your dreams, when will your goal, when will your mission and purpose be worth fighting for? Even if no one else is fighting for it, even if no matter how many times you're fighting for it, you're still not at the finish line. When is it worth it? And, last night, I have to tell you, I was sitting in this hotel room on this gorgeous, beautiful bed, sitting in the hotel room, freshly showered after a really long ass day at the horse show. And I was flipping through the channels, aimlessly searching for something to watch. And that's when I landed on a show on ESPN. It was kind of like those 30 for 30s called The Speech. And it featured Jim Valvano. I'm not sure if you know who he is, but for most of us, I think with my generation, he's famous for his unforgettable speech at the 1993 ESPYs. But before the speech, he'd already lived an incredible, like, hell of a life. He had played college basketball. He'd coached basketball. He coached the NC State to a championship, winning the whole thing in the 80s. And like, I think he was coached from like 1980 to 1990. He ended up getting fired or had to leave under some like tough recruiting circumstances. And then he found a new calling as an announcer on ESPN, which, by the way, somewhere in an alternate universe, I am on the sidelines like an Aaron Andrews calling the game. I really believe that I missed that window of opportunity. I would love, love, love to be an ESPN announcer. But back to Jimmy V. He had such a presence, even as a coach, that everybody knew, oh my gosh, even though he got fired or he was asked to leave his job, ESPN and some of the people in that world were like, we cannot miss out on this guy. He's got an energy in him. There are words in him that are still not being shared, that he needs to be on the screen. He needs to be next to a microphone. And they are so right. And he had such a presence on the court when he was playing, when he was coaching those kids, and then when he was, working the ESPN desk. You never wanted them to pan out to a commercial. It's such a presence and such a way of words. You really couldn't look away. And then I think he was at work, and one day he called his wife and just said like, hey babe, I need to go to the doctor. I'm not feeling good. And unfortunately he did go to the doctor. And when they did the MRI, I think they saw like a ton of tumors all up and down his spine. And he was only given a year to live when this news came. So it was pretty aggressive cancer. And I don't understand the name of the cancer, but if you look Jimmy V up on Wikipedia, you can learn all about what type of cancer he had. But unfortunately, he was only given a year to live. And when he realized this, he was 46 or 47 years old. Now, let me pause here. I'm 48. For some reason, I always thought that he was so much older, like this wise man and sage who had lived a very long life. But no, he was so young. He had barely lived, barely begun. And yet what he did with the time he had left, that's what makes him so unforgettable. And it kind of goes into what I was talking about with my daughter. There was this fighter in him, this fighter, it's this fighter with like real life fighting. You can look at the people in movies and you think, gosh, they always have the strength to keep going. What I respect so much about Jimmy V and my daughter in this sense, they're dealing with it in real life. Jimmy V, he got the diagnosis that this cancer was terminal when he was 46 or 47. He passed away when he was 47. So I'm assuming he was about 46. I'm 48. For some reason, I always thought that he was so much older, like this guy who had lived a full, long, very, very decades and decades full of life, but he was so young. He was younger than me. And I feel like I've barely lived. I feel like I'm still a newbie at life, a newbie at communication, a newbie at raising kids, a newbie at figuring out my purpose. But yet he was given this diagnosis that like, look, your life, at the end of your life is literally around the corner. And what did he do with the time he had left? This is what makes him unforgettable. And this is what I want to talk to you about today. Now, look, I don't know him personally. I am sure he had moments of absolute rage and screaming and sadness and anger and like looking off into the void, like fists up at the universe. I can only imagine, the stages of grief, right? But from the perception that I have of him was that he didn't let that rob him of the little bit of time he had left. Instead, he leaned in, he fought, and he showed up for it, and he didn't give up. He never gave up. And that's what struck me the most. This man staring down literally the sands in the hourglass, right? The clock, knowing with certainty that he was going to miss so much. His work, his wife, his daughters, his joys, the milestones, the growing old in the rocking chair, sitting on the dreams we have about our life. He wasn't going to get to see any of those, but he never backed down. He didn't let cancer define how he'd live the rest of his days. And that kind of resilience, it hits differently. So many of us have to deal with the hard shit every single day. And I'm not downplaying the hard shit. Some people roll up their sleeves naturally and just say, okay, this sucks, but let's do it anyway. Others sit in the woe is me space a little bit longer, feeling like life is out to get them. And let me be clear, feeling that way is sometimes totally valid. And sometimes we do have to hit that rock bottom moment to decide what is worth fighting for. What is it? If this is all I've got left, what is this worth fighting for? But what Jimmy V taught me is that we always have a choice in how we face what's in front of us. And I've said this time and time again, there's a lot of things we can't control. We can't control sometimes our diagnosis. We can't control what other people are doing. We can't control life's circumstances, but we can always choose how we are going to face what's in front of us. Jimmy V's SB speech is legendary. I watched it again last night. I had tears streaming down my face. And in the middle of this speech, he announced the start of the V Foundation for Cancer Research with a simple but profound message, which is never give up, don't ever give up. And even now, 31 years later, his words are aspiring and relevant as they were that night. And there was this story in the ESPN documentary where he went in, he was getting his chemotherapy at Duke Cancer Hospital. And I don't know how he was talking to another doctor, but he said, look, the doctor was telling Jim Valvano, out of 5 doctors, only one is going to get the funds for cancer research. And Jimmy V talked about like how, what a heartbreak that was. Because here he is literally, cancer is ravaging his body. And there are people out there who want to research how to cure cancer, but there isn't enough funding to help the research of it. And he was getting the Arthur Ashe Award at the ESPYs in 1993. Arthur Ashe is the incredible tennis player who sadly died of AIDS after he had his second open heart surgery. He was given a transfusion of AIDS infected blood, unfortunately, because it was the 1980s and early 80s. And I don't think they realized at that point that there were people who were able to donate blood that were infected. So unfortunately, Arthur Ashe passed away also in the 40s from AIDS-induced pneumonia. And Jimmy V was receiving the Arthur Ashe Award. And during that speech, he said, look, AIDS needs just as much research as cancer does. So actually, let's fight for both. I'm going to link his speech in the show notes because if you've never heard it, or even if you've heard it 100 times, please hear it again. It makes you stop and think, what am I doing with the time I have? Even if you're going to live to 110, what are you doing with the time you have? And the motto of Jimmy V's foundation, like I said before, never give up. Don't ever give up. This is such a powerful reminder. And it's weeding through my entire just theme of this weekend, like watching my daughter. Here she is. She's waking up at 5:30 in the morning. She's showing up. She's taking care of her horses. She goes to online school. So she's having to personally create and structure a block schedule in order for her to get her day done. I mean, she has a self-motivated daily school schedule that she has curated and created herself. All the meanwhile, she's receiving messages left and right from colleges saying, oh, you're deferred or you're waitlisted or you're not good enough or this isn't working out. I'm telling you, I would be sometimes in the fetal position crying, feeling sorry for myself if I had to live her day. And I'm not saying she isn't human. She's allowed to have a human experience to all of these things, to each and everything that she's being faced with every single day. She's having a human experience. It's justified. You are allowed to have your own human experience as well. But at the end of it, you can see this almost like countdown. She's like, yeah, this hurts and it sucks and it isn't what I wanted, but I'm not giving up. I'm never giving up. Makes me cry thinking about it. And, that witnessing that for my daughter and then this beautiful reminder from Jimmy V, what I'm really wanting to get across and what I really want to hit home with this podcast today, yes, don't give up. Don't ever give up on your goals, on your dreams, all of it. But don't give up on the stuff that feels ordinary either. I don't want us to wait for a life-altering diagnosis to start living with that kind of passion. What if we treated our regular Tuesdays like they mattered just as much as that once-in-a-lifetime moment? What if you going for a walk with your dog did as much for your soul as sitting in an hour of meditation. Because this is what life has been reminding me lately, that it's not like today is your beautiful gift to live your life today. It's right here in front of us. Like, how can we make the most of it today? And Jimmy Valvano talked about that in his speech. And he said these 3 things that can help us have an amazing day. Laugh every day, every fucking day. And I love that so much. One of the reasons why I love my husband so much, there's 1,000 reasons why I love him, but one of the reasons why I love him, he makes me laugh every single day. Spend time with your own thoughts every single day. Take time out of your busy schedule. Sit in your freaking car, close your eyes before you walk into the house and sit with your own thoughts for a minute. Hear that inner voice. Connect to your soul. And the third thing is cry, release, let out. We ingest and hold on to so much, but we never let it ooze out of us. We never release it. We have to also release. We have to release what we're experiencing. We have to release what we've been expecting. We have to release our expectations. We have to release. There's so much healing and clarity on the other side of that cry. Laugh, think, and cry. And Jimmy Valvano says, if you do those 3 things 7 days a week for your entire life, you will have the most remarkable life. And I truly believe that's why he was able to stand up there at 47 years young. And while his heart was probably breaking into 1,000 quadrillion pieces, he also was like, I'm still fucking here. I'm still the boss. And he even says at the end, like, cancer may ravage my body, but it's never going to take away my soul. And I want to share some things when this has really been like just connecting to every muscle fiber in my body. And I sat and I closed my eyes and I was like, I was reading into the energy of life. And I was like, life, what do you want her to know to help her live her most amazing life? And here's what life has been reminding me lately. And these 5 messages are for you to help you through the good, the bad, the smiles, the scars, and the oh shits of life. Number 1, make time for the phone calls. Don't just text. I get it. Texts are easy. I love a good text. But when you don't pick up the phone, you miss the tone, the energy, the connection. Talking to someone changes the molecules in the air, just like speaking to our water can change its structure. It's healing, it's activating. So the people who matter most to you, call them, take their call. And if you don't want to take their call, dig into why. Is that person taking up too much of your space? Like, do we need to put somebody else in your call list, right? That might tell you something important about that relationship or even about yourself. Number 2, break the gosh darn routine. Go out to dinner. Listen to live music. Step outside the daily grind. Like, you're still a human being. You're not just a grown-up with a to-do list. You got to give yourself permission to smile, to play. And the more you play, the more you open yourself up to beautiful downloads and connections to soul and connections to source and birthing of new ideas. Life isn't meant to be on a hamster wheel of productivity. It's meant to be experienced. Live your life. Break the routine. Number 3, look for the bigger meaning. Not everything that we go through is one-dimensional. In the horseback riding world, a rail that gets knocked down, it's not just a rail. The number on the scale, it's not just a number. Being sick, it's not just a curse. These moments might be here to teach you something, to shift your perspective, to help you grow. Sometimes the universe throws us these lessons disguised as inconveniences or obstacles or rejections. And as annoying as it is, these lessons might exactly be what we need to help us get to where we want to go. Number 4, trust that beautiful golden soul whose literal dream is your life. Your soul knows what your mind doesn't. We live in a world where we put so much weight on thinking, on logic, on figuring everything out. But what if the best things in life are not figured out? What if rejection is protection? What if the things not going your way is actually the universe working in your favor? It's not about controlling every outcome. It's about trusting the process. And if you have a hard time trusting the process, that's incredible information for you to know about yourself. What do you want to do with that? And number 5, take responsibility for your joy. No one else is to blame, and no one else is responsible for your happiness, your peace, or your sense of belonging. Sure, it is nice when others love and support us, but that's extra. It's not owed to us. Now, if you were not given pure basic needs in those formative 0 to 7 first years of your life, yes, there is some core work for you to rewire some core beliefs about your identity. But you're still here, you're still breathing, and you're still alive, which means you still have an opportunity to do that. The real work is making sure that we give those things to ourselves, because what others bring into our lives, that's just a cherry on top. Jimmy V said it the best, like, cancer can take away all my physical abilities. It cannot touch my mind. It cannot touch my heart, and it cannot touch my soul. Life is the same way. Life can feel like you've been run over. God, it can just be like sucker punch, gut punch, like, what the heck? You can be like, life, why are you? But no matter what is going on around you in life, you are still here, and you always have a choice. If this is what's happening in my life, what do I want to do next? So here's my challenge to you. Let's stop treating life like a test you have to pass. Let's start seeing it as a gift that you get to love. Wear that sparkly sequin top on a Tuesday. Don't save it for a special occasion, because guess what? Today is a special occasion because you're here and you're alive and you get to be around the people you love. Notice the flowers. Whoever said stop and smell the roses, they weren't just telling you to be lazy. They were telling you that because that's fucking important. There's connection in that. There's healing in that. There's balance in that. There's love in that. Hug a little bit longer. Savor the wins. And when you don't appreciate the losses, that they are losses, they're just there. And the support that's already there, reel in it. Don't miss out on the beautiful support systems you have around you because you're still searching for something that's not there yet. Stop searching for what's missing and start embracing what's present. Because yes, life is hard as fuck sometimes, but it's also glorious as fuck. You're here, you're living, and you've got the power to make the most of it. When is it worth it? When is it going to be worth it to you to never give up? Don't ever give up, even if nobody else is fighting for you. Your health, your wellness, your happiness, your dreams, your soul, your purpose, all of it. It's up to you. This is your life, right? I can't help but think about this communication I got from a friend a little while ago. And the message of the text, while it sounded nice, there was a little bit of an under message behind it where they said, yeah, I want to see you. It's been a long time. And, can you call me back? There was a connection where it was saying, like, you've got something that I need in order to feel the way that I want to feel. And this is actually a challenge that I'm going through with a couple of people in my life right now. And look, it's wonderful to make someone in your life feel better. It's wonderful to be able to go up to somebody and tell them how much they mean to you and to brighten their day. But what we always wanted to learn how to do for ourselves is to learn how to give that to ourselves first. And that way, someone else in our life isn't responsible for our reason for living, for our reason for fighting, for our reason for believing that we are worth the never giving up. I always want to make sure that when we wake up in the morning, the person that we're fighting for is the person we see in the mirror. And then when our head hits the pillow, even if the day didn't go the way we wanted it to, at least we said, but I didn't give up. It was hard out there, but I never gave up. Because when we fight for ourselves, we prove that we're worth it to ourselves, and we fall madly in love with ourselves. And when we learn how to love ourselves, and when we learn how to fight for ourselves, we're then able to receive love from the world around us. When we're able to receive that beautiful love from the world around us, we're then able to share more love with the people in the world. It's this incredible flow of energy. That's exactly talking about why picking up the phone and connecting to those molecular, spiritual, soulful connections. We're not here by random, right? We're here to connect. We're here to fight. But we have to choose that we're worth fighting for, right? Just like my daughter believes her dreams are worth fighting for, even when she keeps getting beat down, even when she keeps getting rejection letters, even when she keeps getting that rail. And Jimmy believed he was going to fight for his life and his health and his family and for future generations till his last breath. He was like, yeah, I didn't get the hand I wanted, but this is the hand I was dealt. And I'm going to literally fight for it because the hand I was dealt is worth it. And I'm never going to give up. I'm never going to give up. I don't ever want you to give up because you can make the rest of your life the best of your life. You're here. Live your life today. You're living. You've got the power to make the most of it. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. The last thing I'll leave you with. I know you're worth it. Your job right now is to do the work so that you know you're worth it too. Spoiler alert, you're worth it. I love you, Mama. You've got this. Don't give up.